Welcome to this edition of Old Miss Edwards Farm. Hey everybody, I know a lot of you couldn't make it to the Zoom review, so I wanted to talk a little bit about land and water use in a video that was accessible to all of you. So one of the things that we discussed quite a bit that I think could easily be on your FRQ are some of these farming methods. So this is our current garden. It's our main garden for the year. You can see our cool weather crops are doing pretty nicely. I have some potatoes, and I don't know if you can see the onions. Back behind me I do have some corn, and we haven't planted everything yet. What we've done to prepare this garden is something called tilling. So in the back of the tractor, it kind of rakes the soil. It makes it really easy to plant the plants. It loosens up the soil where the plants can easily spread their roots. However, if you'll notice, this leaves the soil exposed. So when we have rain, our topsoil can run off and we can lose that. That is a non-renewable resource. So in a human lifetime, we will not be able to replace this topsoil. I have tried to amend the soil some. I have poultry droppings that have aged for several years that I place on these plants as a natural fertilizer. We do use some synthetic fertilizers as well. We use synthetic pesticides. So these potatoes, this is my favorite place to plant potatoes. If you've heard my stories in class, you know that this is a spot that just really makes sense in our yard for potatoes to be planted. However, when you replant in the same area, you can use up the nutrients in the soil. Pests are already here. That's one reason why I've had to resort to those synthetic pesticides. I've had to apply 7 to these because there were already potato bugs here. We tried first by manually removing the eggs and the bugs as well, but they were just taking over, so we did have to resort to that. Another thing that can be a problem by planting in the same location and not doing crop rotation is that there could be diseases present in the soil. I'm not seeing any of that as a problem yet. Another method that could be used to plant this garden is if we had Roundup Ready plants, we could plant those without tilling up the soil and spray Roundup onto this field. It would kill all the weeds and grasses and kind of create a green mulch. So that would be one thing that we could do instead. So just a few reviews of ways that we can manage the land, and I'll show you a few other areas in the yard in just a second. All right, so I'm bringing you over to my raised bed. What we've done here is we collected rock from our property. So this is rock that naturally occurs here. We've included soil from our compost. We've included chicken manure that has been added to the compost as well. And we've bought some soil too. This makes the soil very easy to work. It's very rich. We can continue amending the soil for any kind of loss of nutrients. One thing I'm trying new this year is I am doing some companion planting. Since we've had a little extra time to read for fun, I've been reading about companion planting more than I have in the past. And you'll notice here at the front, I have garlic plants and marigolds, and these are kind of creating a buffer. So what I read was to plant these along the edges to help discourage pests from coming to our plants that we planted behind. So it won't completely eliminate the need possibly for pesticides, but I've not had to use any here. Our plants are looking very healthy. I have had to use some synthetic fertilizer. My amending was not quite enough for this location. And you also can tell, let me show you one of the leaves right here. This is not really a bad sign. So hopefully you can see those holes where something has made a meal of this cabbage. And when I go to buy produce, a lot of people would overlook produce that looks like this. When I see this, I know that pesticides have been either applied very little or not at all. And it's really important to use pesticides as little as possible. We also use something called diatomaceous earth here. Diatomaceous earth comes from fossilized diatoms, and they're very sharp. They don't hurt you and me. They can be irritating to your skin. But if an insect is in contact with the diatomaceous earth, the diatoms actually scratch their exoskeleton and it causes them to dehydrate and die. So that is one other thing that you can use. Behind me you see that we have honeybee hives. Right now we do not have any honeybees. It's really sad, but that doesn't mean there's not honeybees in the area that I want to protect. I have to be very careful in how I apply pesticides, even things like diatomaceous earth, because I don't want to harm our pollinators. So trying not to apply near flowers, trying to apply during times when they're not going to be active, or not using them more than you absolutely have to. Those are all really important things to consider as you're talking about your integrated pest management techniques. So you've noticed that I have lots of different techniques that I use here in my raised bed to try to eliminate or discourage pests. I wanted to share one last companion planting that I use to discourage pests. So these very healthy looking strawberries, you see I have some bright red strawberries ready to pick today, delicious, are planted near these garlic chives. The garlic chives can be really great on a baked potato. They have beautiful white flowers, but they also help with my integrated pest management for these strawberries as well. I have not had to apply any fertilizer. I have not had to apply any pesticides for these strawberries. Strawberries very often have to have pesticides applied, so I'm excited that that has not been an issue in this location. So there's another example of companion planting as part of my pest plan.